Hello, hi, it's Bonnie Gray, and I'm right here in my living room, and I'm wondering, are you here for our special Facebook Live right now? And we are going to be talking about getting unstuck and staying inspired. I'd love to hear and see who all is out there right now. It's such a special time because it's Valentine's Day weekend. And I was thinking maybe this will just be the best way for us to start off our week. Oh, I'm so glad Marag is here. Oh my gosh, and I've seen some hearts, so go ahead and you can tap on the heart, and then it lets me know that you're here with me because I'm seeing you on the screen, and the hearts will float by. You could just say hello. You can type in a comment, and that's how we'll be able to chat with each other during our Facebook live stream. So say hello and tell me what the weather's like where you're at. Is it sunny? Here this time it's sunny. Last time we did a Facebook Live, it was raining. And today it's actually quite sunny. Well, I am so happy to have a chance to hang out here with you today because it is starting the new week of love. And it's so interesting. Once a year we all, and Susan has joined. Hi, Susan. And Valerie, yay! Valerie was telling me she was on her way to a special tour. She's a foodie. So it's really great that you're here, Valerie. Oh, and it's sunny. And Laurel's here. And you're about to take off in Phoenix. Oh, hey, this is great. Thank you. I'm so happy to see you. Well, one thing that I had talked about, and Nance is here. Oh boy, she's in a really big snowstorm right now. So say hello because we're all here, and I'm getting some thumbs up, so that's good, and I'm getting some hearts, especially in this weekend for Valentine's Day. That's really nice. So please say hello if you're just joining us right now, and also we can continue to get to know each other. We had a great time last time in our Facebook live stream. Everybody's really sharing from our hearts, and it really encouraged me to continue to share from my heart. Hi, Kimberly. So it's really, we're encouraging each other. And in fact, today's live stream is inspired by you, because many of you were asking, well, how did you write a book? And how are you even doing all this and sharing all this when I had been going through a season of anxiety, and I'm so sensitive to stress right now. And so it was because we had this open conversation. Hi, Holly. Oh my gosh, she's here. Holly is in New Zealand, and I have started blogging with her over on my blog, faithbarista.com, for many years. So it kind of gets into why this whole Facebook Live is so special, because it gives us a chance to really chat and then share the things that God has whispered to me. And I know that they'll inspire you too. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you is the big book reveal. And interesting enough, last year, I did not even want to, prior to last year, when I was figuring out whether, Holly says she's in Ireland actually. Okay. Oh, and Connecticut, Lisa. Hi, Lisa. So I was just saying, after I finished writing my first book, Finding Spiritual White Space, I was really wondering whether or not I should write a second book, because it does take a lot of work. And as some of you know, I experienced a lot of anxiety in writing the first one, and I didn't know if I wanted to write a second one. And interestingly enough, in that time when I was trying to figure out what would I write, it's interesting because as I went to different places to speak, people were saying to me, Bonnie, I feel so close to God during these spiritual white space retreats. What would it take for me to experience this closeness with God all the time in my everyday life? So I wished that I could just go home with everyone, that I could be that friend to everyone, to encourage them every day and to share the things that really brought back the spark in my life. And that is how I began every day. I would just think, what is it that has inspired me to return God's spark in my life? And as different stories started surfacing, and I heard God remind me, this is what I shared with you and I'm continuing to share with you, I started writing them down. And as I wrote them down, I realized this would be the book I would hand to all the people that I would want to go home with and to be able to encourage them. And this is the book. So here's the book cover. And I haven't found a way to figure out Facebook live stream to have it not show up backwards. This is Whispers of Rest. Do you guys like it? What do you think? I wanted a cover that would convey just the peace and the beauty of hearing God's whispers. So it's called Whispers of Rest. And between you and me, if you were to go to Amazon, you'd be able to see it right now. It's not publicly announced yet. You can see it. It just got put up there. Later on next month, we'll do a big pre-release announcement with some bonuses for everybody to get when they pre-order. But I just wanted to share that with you. This is a good starting point for us. Is there anybody else who joined us? Oh, thanks. Holly says it was really pretty. Is there anybody else who's joined us? You want to say hello? Oh, it's so good. Well, I want you to go to my website, faithbarista.com. That's faithbarista.com, or you can also go there by typing in thebonniegray.com. And there is a link right now where you can join the book launch team. If you join the book launch team, we're going to encourage each other in a private Facebook group, and I'm going to get your help to spread the word on Whispers of Rest. What's going to be special about this book launch team is that you are going to be hearing God's whispers. You're going to be getting inspired. One thing I wanted to tell you is that this book is a 40-day journey. It's a 40-day detox for your soul. Because this world is so noisy. It gets into our topic today. This world is so noisy. We feel so inspired many times in little moments, right? Where you feel beautiful, you feel energized, you feel excitement about what God is putting on your heart. But then the next moment, all the troubles of the world, of our journey through it, all the different things that we're facing, those things will take us away from that place of peace. So this book is going to return us. What if for every day, for 40 days, you were to hear God's whispers of love for you? What would happen if every day you took time out to hear a loving whisper from God to you? You were able to do something that was loving to you, for your body, to bring calm and peace, and to bring joy in your life. There's a soul care tip in each day. And there's also a simple prayer practice. This is very simple because as I was going through so much stress and anxiety, I found it difficult to pray. I had to find new ways to pray to God where I can feel really close and intimate with Him. So this book is kind of like my greatest hits. The 40 most easy, intimate way to pray that's very simple, and it's inspired by classical Christian devotional practices, and I modernize it so that it's really simple in our everyday life. So for instance, did you know, and I talked about this last time, that if you and I were to buy flowers, those flowers, and we put them in our kitchen, studies show that women who put flowers in their kitchen and see them first thing in the morning, their bodies have a lower level of cortisol. Isn't that interesting? So that day's devotional, Jesus would tell us, don't worry, look at the flowers. It's so interesting. There's something about that, the way God made flowers. Not only is God saying, I love you, I care for you, just like the flowers, but when we look at them, our body responds. And then a simple prayer for that day is just to pray a breath prayer. A breath prayer is where you just say, Jesus, or God, or Father, and then you just let Him know how you feel or what it is that you may want to whisper to Him. Jesus, I need you today. And that would be that day's prayer practice. Wouldn't that be fun? So I filled this book with 40 different of these gems that I did myself to bring God used to bring my spark of joy back every day. What if you were to hear something loving from God, Do something loving for yourself that will bring joy to your body, bring calm and peace, and then you would have a simple way of prayer. Okay, so that is all about this book. And the whole journey is going to help you discover who God created you to be. His beloved. His beloved. So join the book launch. Join the book launch. We'll have a private Facebook group. We're going to go through each of these 40 days together and do these really fun, beloved challenges together and encourage. And then I want to hear, what is God whispering to you that week or that day? So it's going to be so much fun. Please sign up for the book launch, and there's going to be 100 books that are going to be given away. 100 free books for all of you to review and help me get the word out. And not only that, outside of the 100, there's going to be lots of sample chapters so that everyone can get a sample. We can do this together. Okay? So, all right. So I'm so excited. Thank you for letting me share my heart and my excitement about this book. Tell your friends about it. Invite them to come along. And it's going to be so special to do it together. I know that I can't do it alone. My first book showed me that I don't have to do it alone. And you are the ones that are enabling me to share these stories so that we can all share our stories. So Sandy just joined us. Kimberly said she's going to sign up for the book launch. Oh, how do we join? Okay, go to faithbarista.com, and there is going to be on the blog a big graphic, pretty picture, and a link that you can click. Alrighty, so we are now going to start off for our topic for today. Thank you so much for letting me share that. All right, so I want to just go through as many of these as I can. I get so many questions about how can I stay inspired and get unstuck. So I'm just going to go through these, and I'm going to share with you rapid fire the things that inspired me. And I want to start with the hardest ones, right? Because if the hardest situation that seem hard to us, and actually they're all hard, but I guess to me, there was a whole bunch, and I'm going to read it. So Karen says, I feel inspired to create, paint, draw, exercise, but I get stuck because of pain. And then Fiona says, she says, I want to write things that God's put on my heart. But then when my health takes a hold of me and I don't feel well, suddenly I don't feel like I'm able to write and create. Okay, and then I am Jay Smiles. This is on Instagram. She had said, I feel so inspired to write my story, but I feel stuck when my depression takes my best moments away. Oh boy. Okay, so I have been there, like seriously been there, as you know. And I want to share one thing that really encouraged me. Okay, do you remember when Mary was with Jesus at the tomb when he resurrected? Mary was really sad, right? And she was saying, where is Jesus? Where my hope is completely gone. And then Jesus suddenly appeared to her. And she was so happy. She grabbed onto Jesus, and she did not want to leave. I think Mary might have wanted to take Jesus with her and go back and show everybody Jesus is alive. But you know what? Interestingly enough, Jesus said, please, I love you, but you need to let go of me. And I want you to go back and tell everybody what you have seen and what you know. And it's interesting, Jesus didn't say very much. And yet Mary was called, and she was given this beautiful moment with Jesus to go and tell other people about it. So, you may be feeling like, you know what? I don't have the whole message. I don't know, how I'm going to be able to share all the things that I want to share when I feel pain, or I feel tired, or I feel like I can't push through. And this passage spoke to me because God was saying to me, Bonnie, I don't need you to feel like you have to say everything and say it in a way that you think it's going to be successfully communicated. Bonnie, listen to me. I'm right here in your most quiet moments. Whatever it is I say to you, that's all you need to say. Only that. Oh, as you know, what happened when Mary went to the disciples, some of them didn't believe her, right? They did not believe her. So you know what? It's okay. It's going to happen. And it's so interesting that when Jesus resurrected, don't you think he should have gone to the Jewish leaders, right? Wouldn't he want to show up to where everybody was at? But no, he chose Mary. Somebody that, her background wasn't the greatest. But in people's eyes, but in God's eyes, she's the person that he loved. And she was the person that he wanted to first give this message to. So I want to encourage you, if you're feeling, you might not feel you're at your best, but God says, I love you. And that love is going to continue to inspire you. So keep going back to spending that quiet time with God. However it is you feel you best hear God, whether it's listening to music, whether it's crocheting, or like Holly, I just saw her share her painting on Facebook. Whoever it is you feel closer to God, keep doing those things. Now my journey was, it actually took me a year of just kind of nurturing my soul. And during that time, I wasn't able to write anything. But guess what? As I nurtured my soul, God was speaking to me in that season. And that's how I wrote that book. And that's also how I wrote this second book. So that's my second tip on getting inspired, is that sometimes we have a very clear idea about what we want to do, but God may be whispering and drawing us to go on a journey. And when we go on that journey, our inspiration will return. Okay, well there we want to hit the next one, okay? Next one is from Kathy. Kathy says, I feel so inspired to lead others into a true, worshipful, trusting relationship with God. But when I dwell on my current problems, then I don't know what to do. Eden says, I feel inspired to start a women's Saturdays breakfast club, but I feel stuck when my real world responsibilities and schedules don't blend in. And Wendy says, I feel inspired to write and draw. But when I think about being a single mom, it's so hard to raise a family, then I don't know what to do. And I want to share what Debbie said. She said, I feel inspired to write, but I feel stuck because all the urgent takes over. And Lynn says she wants to also feel inspired, but she gets enveloped and overwhelmed by the single tasks. Okay, so this is another problem that really can stop us to get stuck, is when we feel overwhelmed by our everyday work, our everyday responsibility. So it just seems like impossible. Okay, so now I want to share something that's from my season. I used to work in high tech. I want to share something with you that I thought was very interesting, and hopefully it'll help you. And I have my my pen here with the whiteboard, little whiteboard. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. You guys are going to see it backwards. Okay, I'll just tell you, and I guess you'll see it backwards. Okay, the first thing is, don't let perfectionism stop you. As you can tell, things are not going perfectly the way I would want them to, but I'm still going to now tell you. I would have preferred to show you, but I'm now going to tell you. So sometimes we stop what we are wanting to do because we want to figure out how everything is going to work out so that we don't make any mistakes, right? You start getting inspired, but you leave that moment of inspiration where you're so excited and you're brainstorming, and you start figuring out, wait a minute, I'm not going to be able to do this because of XYZ. Okay, so when we do product development here in Silicon Valley, you know, all these great products like Facebook and LinkedIn and all these great ideas that get put into products. There are 4 phases, and the first phase is concept. It's when you brainstorm. This is when it's really exciting. Something new is happening. Okay, this is the pocket you want to stay in. We often go to the second, third, and fourth phases. The second phase is called design. Okay, design is actually when you try to start figure out what exactly is this going to look like, and what kind of features will it have? What will people want to use? How will this benefit people? Okay, so you may be thinking that already. Oh, I want to do a Saturday morning brunch, or I want to go and paint, but I don't know how to get started, right? Okay, the third step is called development. That's actually when you actually start creating it, okay, what you just designed. And the last phase is called implementation. It's actually when you roll it out and then people will enjoy it or reject it. And so we immediately, when we get a really super cool inspiration idea, we go immediately, oh, somebody said they have a hard time hearing me. Can everybody hear me? Let me know? Can you hear me pretty well? You can put in a comment and let me know. Okay. So, where was I? Okay, so when you are in that, yeah, okay, you guys can hear me. Thank you. All right. So what I was saying is we immediately jump to the last phase. We're really inspired and we want to figure out, are people going to like it? What if people don't want it? What if I'm doing it wrong? What if, there's so many different ways to write the story, or there's so many ways to record this worship album. Who am I going to use? Who am I going to get to play the piano? And who's going to volunteer? So we get into the last phase of when we're actually standing in front of people or we're giving people what it is we're trying to create. So we do not want to go there. We don't want to go there. We need to stay in that creative space of inspiration. And when I wrote these two books, Finding Spiritual White Space and Whispers of Rest, I want to tell you the truth, okay? I closed all my browsers. I have a lot of different author friends, right? I cannot look at their websites during the time I'm creating. Because immediately when I look at what other people are doing, I will immediately question what I originally felt inspired to do. And I will start comparing. Wait a minute, maybe this way is better. Wait a minute, I probably shouldn't say this. Okay, well, how can I say it differently? And then I could fall in a pocket of being stuck. And I would call it depressed. I mean, my depression doesn't show up as I'm sad, I'm crying, but my depression shows up, it's more like depressed feeling of, you know what, I don't think I want to do it anymore. Forget it. This gets into what I want to encourage you from the scriptures. I shared with you my story. I'm going to share with you the scripture that got me unstuck, okay? Okay, do you remember the widow? The widow that Elijah had gone to, and she only had enough to make one more meal. Do you remember? She only had a child and she was a widow. So I was also speaking to the single mom out there, right? Or all of us moms that, I mean, honestly, a lot of us, other than the stay-at-home dads that do work full-time at home, we have to take care a lot of the responsibility, shoulder that of taking care of our children. So we have a lot of responsibility. So back on the widow. So she only had enough oil to make one meal, right? And Elijah said, just make that meal for me. And then after she made the meal, guess what? There was more. If you go back and read that passage, it's interesting. The scriptures say that it was only each time she used it, it wouldn't run out. And so God was saying to me, and God is saying to us, just whatever it is that you have, whatever that one next step is, okay, wherever you are in those four phases, whether it's concept, design, develop, or roll out, implementation, one next step. Don't jump to the next phase. Stay in that one next step. And when you do that, when you write that one next thing or do that one next thing, then another step will emerge. Because then your heart is free. So God, the Holy Spirit, the oil is the Holy Spirit. The oil is the Holy Spirit in the New Testament. Isn't that right? You are God's temple. And God is whispering to you what it is that He is putting on your heart. Move for that one step. Write that one thing. Or go talk to that one person, that one thing. So I encourage you. Okay, I want to get into some of the critical voices that people hear. And, okay, so here are some of them. Someone says, I feel unfit, unworthy. Who would want to listen to what I have to say? You aren't capable. I'm not good enough. Okay, so all of these critical voices are basically your safety mechanism. Okay, I don't want you to feel bad. Like, oh gosh, I feel so guilty. God is calling me to do X, Y, or Z. Like, what's wrong with me? What's my problem? And we start putting more guilt on ourselves. No, it's not true. This is very normal. Very normal when you're about to do something that really shares your heart. It's your voice, and that you love, it's very normal to hear these voices, because somewhere in our stories, and all of us have it, we have felt unworthy. Someone has said to us, or we have had an experience when someone says, you know what, just don't say anything. What you have to say is not special. You know what, you're not good enough yet. You need a credential. You need some kind of proof that you are an authority on whatever you have to say. Well, I want to share with you another story from the gospel that has really encouraged me about that, and that is Jesus himself. You know, when Jesus, he was here, nobody, the leading thought leaders of the day, did not approve of him. They didn't like what he had to say. They didn't think anything he said was right or good. And yet the Father in heaven said, "You are my beloved, in whom I'm well pleased." You are my beloved. And God said that even before he did a single thing. So I think that is really important to us to know what all these critical voices are saying, that it's who you are, it's not what you do. I want to hear from you. What are some of the things that you're inspired to do and you feel stuck? So at this point, I want to hear from you. Can you type into the comments, what are some of the things that you feel inspired to do, but you feel stuck in? And what is it that makes you feel stuck? Or do you have any questions right now? We've got some thumbs up. Have any questions? Okay, so please keep typing them in as you start thinking of those. And Kelly Shia just joined us, and Sandra is here. I'm so glad that you're here. Okay, so I'm going to keep asking some questions and reading some questions. Okay, Susan says, I feel inspired to create a blog about my special needs parenting life. And Deborah just joined us. Okay, so what is it that you feel stuck on? Can you share that with us? Okay. I want to share some other information that a lot of you have also said that I really want to publish things. Okay, I want to publish things, but I feel discouraged because I know it's so much work and it's probably unlikely. Okay, yeah, Joel Dina says, I want to finish a small book to encourage others, but it's going to meet with critique that will really hurt. And maybe I'm too fearful. Okay, I'm going to address that. But somebody had just said, well, I'm never going to publish anyway, so why get started, right? Why get started? So I wanted to share with you some resources. I asked my agent, Chip McGregor, what can someone do if they wanted to self-publish? This is one idea, okay? He says there's a company called Book Baby. There's a fee starting about $150, and they'll walk you through the entire process. Okay? So that is one thing. The second tool that he gave is called, he said, if someone feels confident to do it all by yourself, if you feel confident you want to do it all by yourself, you can go to Amazon's Create Space page. Amazon's Create Space page. Okay? It says that you'll find a system you can produce an ebook as well as a printed version. Okay? So you can do that. Third, his main advice is to get an editor to specialize in helping authors to get their words out. Okay? And I have some names. And if you're interested, you can just let me know in the comments if you want to hire an editor to help you. And I have some names that are recommended by Chip that are really good. So the reason why I wanted to share this is that, again, a lot of times we want to shut ourselves down because we feel like there's no way our words are going to get out anyway, so why bother starting? And this is just one example of different ways to get your words out. There's also blogging, right? There's also Facebook sharing as well. Most people are on Facebook nowadays, right? It's a way to share your writing as well. And if you self-publish, you can just share that. And the most important thing is not to stop yourself. When I was writing my first book, it was not the book that you ended up seeing in Finding Spiritual White Space. I was just writing on the blog with many of you. And it just turned out that somebody had come across my blog and offered me the opportunity to publish. So I didn't even know that was going to happen. If I ever thought, you know what, I'm never probably going to get published, I don't know anybody in the publishing industry, then I would have not started writing. So we don't know what God's plans are. Just keep moving in that direction. So Nance has just joined us, and she says she wants to do creative journaling with nature photography. She says, it's not the first time I wanted to do it, but I am encountering endless number of to-do lists. Okay, now this actually probably is a hard question, not to ask, but maybe a hard question to answer, because, oh yes, I'm seeing lots of thumbs up and hearts, okay? And somebody even said, you know, with parenting and taking care of the home, that's another big to-do list. And some people just feel like tired, just even looking at their to-do list. How are you going to do anything inspirational? Okay, so my answer is going to be the one I would tell you if you were in my home having coffee with me and it was just the two of us, and I'm going to do that now, okay? So this is maybe not what you would typically hear, but it's the truth. I'm going to point to God's scripture first, okay? Because that's what inspired me. Do you remember when people wanted to follow Jesus and they said, I need to go back home and bury my father? When Jesus first called the disciples, they were actually, the two brothers, they were fishing, right? With their father, it says. And they were first introduced as the two sons of Zebedee. Okay, so that was their world, was fishing. So Jesus said, please come follow me. There's a moment, friends, if you are inspired, God's putting something on your heart, and it might be many years. I've been wanting to do Facebook live stream for 3 years. I've been wanting to write this book, Whispers of Rest, for 3 years. It's never too late. But you know what? I've had to leave my nets. You're going to have to leave your nets. That's actually the first chapter of this book. Saying yes and leaving our nets. Now, I'm not saying we're going to leave our children, we're going to leave our husbands, right? But there's some responsibilities that we're going to make space for. Because if we hear Jesus calling us, we're going to get very creative. We're going to be able to do it. Think about how you take care of your husbands and your kids, right? If you know there's a need, you're able to somehow make space. Well, when we hear Jesus, we're going to have to move some things. Now, maybe for you, it might be once a week, you're going to create that space. But you need to put it in your schedule. You need to say, this is my white space. Maybe for you, for me, it's in the morning when the kids are in school. Okay? Maybe 3 days out of the week, you can do this. 2 days out of the week. I started trading with my husband. I said, honey, I want you to go and do this fun thing with your guy friends. You did it before we had kids. I want you to go and do it. And actually, because I actually want to do one night a week, I actually want to go and have, dinner with my friends. And actually that inspired me, because as you talk about the things that inspire you, that can help you do things. So for me, like this live stream, being with people really inspires me. So there are moments where you're going to have to really think about what are those things that you're going to do. One, to work on your inspirational project, but second, to also do things that nurture your inspirational self. So for my birthday, I went to go to a museum, and I wrote about that on Facebook. But there's other things that you can do that may not be exactly about your project. Like Nance, you wanted to do the creative journaling, right? Things that are related to that. And when you go do that, you start to get inspired. Does that make sense? Does that help answer the to-do lists? We have to make space to get inspired. You know how like sometimes, have you ever gone out with friends where maybe beforehand you were so tired, there's so many things, it's been such a busy week and you don't even feel like going? But then once you actually get there, you suddenly are so thankful that, oh my gosh, I'm glad I came. I'm so glad I got out of the house. I'm so glad I actually took time out. And then you actually go home more inspired, more joyful. Is that right? And Melissa is sharing that she liked the story that I shared. So last year, when I was really scared about releasing this book, Whispers of Rest, because, I was writing this. Remember I was telling you, I'm writing this in a place where I'm only listening to God, right? So the minute I step out of listening to God, I immediately start thinking, this is dumb. No one's going to like it. Why would I want to do that? I actually started writing. This is special. I started writing poetry. So at the beginning of each day of this 40-day devotional, there's a little poetry here. And I never saw any devotional that had poetry in it. So immediately I started stomping on my idea. Like, Bonnie, no, this is dumb. Nobody's done this. You've never read a different devotional that has some poetry in it. But you know what? The minute I go back to God and I'm in that quiet space with Him, I actually love reading some poetry. And it just started flowing. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to put it in. I don't think about it, So when I was at the museum, I was thinking, you know what if all this that I've written, it's not going to resonate? What if it's just resonating to me and not other people? And so I went to this museum, and I actually don't even like postmodern art. Okay, like this postmodern art is just like lines and big, bold colors. And that's never been my thing, but it was the only thing that was showing in the gallery, right? So I thought, okay, well, I don't really have a choice. I'll just go there, right? So, but as I stood there, before I entered the gallery, I watched this little documentary interview they showed of the artist, Frank Stella. And nobody liked his art. It's from the 70s. If you looked at it, like, oh, that's totally 70s. But he was revolutionary, because prior to Frank Stella, everything was like painted like a picture, like a photo, very realistic like. So critics were saying, you know what, your art sucks. It's cold. There's no meaning. Why are you just drawing all these lines over and over again? Why are you just painting these colors? And interestingly enough, Frank Stella said, I can't tell you the reason why. My answer is only biographical. I like to draw lines. I like how I feel when I'm drawing the lines. I like the texture of the paint when I paint it onto the canvas. I can't tell you why. I can only tell you that I love to do it. And as I stood there in front of that painting, I realized God was whispering to me, this is who you are. When you're with me, this is who you are, Bonnie. You're an artist. You love words. You love the way they sound. You love the way they look. You love words. Why are you so ashamed that you love words? This book is beautiful, Bonnie. It's full of words that you love, that you've heard when you're with me. Why are you ashamed? I love it, Bonnie. I love it when you are being who you are with me. So, Nance, when you are with God and you love taking pictures of nature and you love to journal, for the reader that wrote to me and said, I love to have women in my home and have breakfast. Whatever it is, I love to paint. I love to write a journal of devotionals. God says, why are you ashamed of this? I love you. I love you when you're doing these things. Please do it. You're my beloved. So I want you to really hear that. And then my heart wasn't scared anymore. I realized, yes, God He loves it when I'm with Him, and this is what I love. I went to another part of the art gallery, and it's interesting, it's a similar story. It was showing a photographer in the 70s also, and he was going to all these different places where buildings were being demolished. And he would go and take pictures before they were demolished, and specifically Manhattan in the 70s before Giuliani was there. Like Manhattan was just terrible. This like deserted place is really ugly. Things were not taken care of. And he would go and take pictures of these broken places. And people were asking him, why are you taking pictures of it? It's going to be destroyed. Wouldn't you rather take pictures of just the new Manhattan? And his answer startled me. God spoke to me. He said, I'm here to take pictures to prove that these buildings were here. That I was here. And I realized God was saying to me, this is what you are to do, Bonnie. This is what I want you to write. not because you think, whether people will accept it, but I want you to write whatever I've shown you in your life to prove that I was here with you. So there's things in your life, friends, maybe you might not feel it's worthy. Okay, maybe you not feel like, well, would anybody identify with it? Well, you know what? Listen to God's voice. God is saying, I want you to write this. I want you to paint this. I want you to do this because I am here with you. It proves, it gives testimony that you are with me and I am with you. So when you think about those stories or those, whatever it is God's inspiring you to do, keep in mind the picture of Jesus with you. And that's what it means to give testimony. It's not just standing at the stage and giving a story from beginning to end, with a bow at the end. It's the story that you're living. It's the story that you're experiencing. So say there's marital strife. There's parenting troubles. And some of you have said, I don't know how to pursue what's inspired because my everyday life has so much chaos and strife. I don't feel like I can do it. Well, God may be wanting you to write from that chaos and strife. Because even in that chaos and strife, God is with you. God is with your child. God is with your husband. The child that has ADD. The child that has special needs. The moment when you're completely crying and broken and feeling unable to deal with the stress. God is in those moments and God is saying something to you. That's what God wants you to share. Are you hearing me? Because that's where we're all at, right? We're all in our moments. Our stories might look differently, but the feelings we have, the things God says to encourage you, they also speak to other people. So don't take away your individual story. Don't try to wipe it out so it looks like everybody else's, and then maybe people will want to listen to it. That's not the powerful stuff. I only tell you this to encourage you and not to say that my words are great, but I was really surprised when Publishers Weekly gave me a coveted star review. It's an industry group that's really special, the people that sell books, and they had given me a starred review for my first book, and I was so shocked because I was like, why would anybody want to read about my hard times? But apparently, you know what? It's real. So God is with you in, again, whatever troubles you're experiencing. You don't have to feel like you're not qualified because you have weakness. If you're angry, if you're in pain, or if you're troubled. Actually, that's where Jesus is most close. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall see God, for they shall be close to God, for they will hear God's kingdom. So God's kingdom is in you. God's kingdom is in your home. When you don't know what to do because there's finances that are piling up, and you don't know where your job is going to come next. You don't know when your husband's job is going to come next. You don't know what's going to happen to your child because he got into another fight at school, or your child is failing and struggling to keep up with grades, or the siblings are arguing and fighting. You don't have to be a different person, to be able to write that devotional. You're not disqualified to write about beautiful things that God speaks to you. When maybe the next moment you've lost it because the laundry's not done, and then your child is whining about homework. The reason I'm able to tell you is because this happens to me. And so the critics in your voices, whether it's maybe your parent, maybe a friend that has judged you in the past, maybe it has been a church pastor in the past, maybe it has been somebody in ministry that has served you, when they found out something that you're struggling with, they start judging you. Maybe those are the voices that come into play. I know they do for me. And then you figure, okay, forget it. I'm disqualified. I can't say all these beautiful things about God. No, it's not true. It's because you're facing so much adversity. It's because you're facing so much stress that God is whispering beautiful things to you. Are you kind of hearing what I'm saying? It's like the opposite. It's the complete opposite. It's because there's a verse in the New Testament that says we are pressed, but we're not broken, right? God walks through the waters with us, right? So it's like we're not going to drown, but there's a storm, right? So it doesn't mean your life has to be free of storms. It's saying in the storm, what is it that God's whispering to you? right? So you have to tell the storm. You have to tell the, whatever that's happening. That's part of the story. That's part of God's whispers. That's part of your message. That's part of the power. Okay, so I'm really glad that I can share that because I feel very strongly about it. And in fact, this is one time when I was telling you that, I said, you know what? I don't think I have anything revolutionary to say. I don't know if I should write a second book. And when I was leading the Spiritual White Space retreat, I was in line. I was going to do a book signing for an hour, but somebody saw me get up during lunch to get a book for one friend during the retreat that needed to leave. So I got up to my book table, and suddenly everybody started lining up because they thought I was going to start signing books. I have to tell you, friends, I signed books for 6 hours because people wanted to share their stories with me. And I was like, God, what is it that you're saying? What is it that you want to say? And God was saying, you know what? All the things that I'm saying to you that you might think are very ordinary, I want you to share those things just as they are. So I want to encourage you. That's what God is saying to you. Okay, so I want to share one last thing. And now, remember I told you about not being afraid of imperfection? I actually forgot to get my clock to put in front of me. So can you guys tell me what time it is? I don't know how long I've been speaking. Can you just tell me what time it is? Quick, so I know how much time I have. All right. Okay, what time is it right now? I don't want to leave. So I need to know what time it is. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, we're going to wrap up. We're going to end right now. Okay. Okay. I'll tell one last story and then we're going to end, which is Paul. Maybe you also, one thing that gets us from stopping is that we feel that, if we get too far down the road, what if bad things happen? Right? Like, somebody had said earlier, well, what if I get hurt? People do criticize. Maybe I can't handle it. Okay. Remember Paul? He was sent to different parts to spread the gospel, right? You remember what happened in every city that Paul went to? I want to hear you guys tell me. Type in the comments. What happened? What happened when Paul went to different cities? Basically, he got persecuted. He got thrown out. One time he had to be led out of a basket. Do you remember that? He's basically going to be killed. So I'm not saying you're going to be killed. I'm not saying bad things are going to happen to you. All I'm saying is we don't have to worry about what's going to happen to us because, when God was being let out of the basket, guess what? There are friends. There are friends waiting for us to encourage each other. Yes, and he was not destroyed, right? And so I want to share with you this book again. This is Whispers of Rest. Whispers of Rest. I want you to join me for the book launch. Go to my website, thebonniegray.com, faithbarista.com. On my blog, you'll see a link to sign up for my book launch because you know what? I learned because of you that I have friends that will help lower me back in the basket. I was so scared to publish my first book. I was so scared. If you've read my book, you'll know why. And you know what? You guys were there for me. I'm going to get emotional. You guys were there for me. And you guys supported me. And so I want to support you. This book is for you. This book is for you. I wrote this for you. This is what I would do if I were your friend and every day I could encourage you. If I could pack myself in a little suitcase and send myself to you, this is what it would be. There's 40 of the most powerful, loving whispers from God to inspire your heart to get your spark of joy again. And there's 40 different soul care tips that can actually bring, it's based on research, things that I've done to bring calm and peace to my heart and my body, because I was experiencing so much stress. Real practical things, easy things you could do every day. And there's a simple prayer practice. It's beautiful. I researched all the classical different people that practice prayer, like Martin Luther, Tim Keller, Eugene Peterson. I mean, all these classic, Henry Nouwen, everything that I accessed during those 3 years of bringing my spark back, I put it all in here. And I modernized it the way I used it so that you can use it too. And we can't do this alone. That's what I learned and I didn't know. We can't do it. And you know what? God doesn't want us to do it alone. Look at Paul, right? So we're going to be those friends for each other. Whatever city that you're in, we are God's people. We're going to help each other. so that we can become the beloved. That's why we're going to have a private Facebook group. And as we go through this 40-day journey, we're going to help each other. We're going to do these things. And because I've gone through this journey, the only reason why I feel like, I have this blessing to be your guide is that I've walked it, literally done this. So I can at least give the conversations, share the scriptures that encourage me. And then, what we're doing here? I cannot wait to do it in our private Facebook group. We'll do it together and we can help each other because you also have resources that I've not heard of. We can just share with each other. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for being there for me. And I want to do this for you. When I was overwhelmed, I guess that's the last tip. When I was overwhelmed and I wasn't sure what I wanted to say, because there's different ways to write a devotional, right? There's like a gazillion ways, right? How do I know which is the right way? I have to tell you, I was stuck for a year. I didn't know. And you know what I did? I told you, don't do this. I went to compare. Well, this person wrote this devotional. Well, she wrote that one. Well, which one should be the best for me? I was stuck for a year, friends. But when I was standing in that line, signing books and hearing people tell me their stories, and I was literally, my heart was broken. Like, don't be discouraged. You can do this. Whatever God used to help me, I want to give it to you. And then of course, you guys help me all the time on Facebook and on our blog, and you help me support me doing my first book. I said, I will write to you. And guess what? It just flew out of me. Every day I got up, I was writing to you. And there was no problem at that time. So you need to do that. You need to find someone, a friend that you can talk to, someone that you resonate with. If you want to write to special needs, if you want to write to working moms, if you want to write to other single girls, women, you want to write about home ministry, hospitality, crocheting, gardening. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't have to have a quote unquote Christian label. Find someone that is of your kindred spirit and then write the book to that person. Because that person's not a critic, right? Don't write to your critics. Does that make sense? Don't write to your critics. Write to the people that are your people, your kindred spirits, where you feel safe. And then the words will start flowing. There's nothing wrong that you can say. And that's not just my voice. That's God's voice, the Heavenly Father, Jesus. Jesus says, just like he said to Mary, just go and tell them what you have seen. Tell them what you have heard right in your everyday life. Okay, I'm so inspired. I'm so glad that I wrote this book so that I can share all this with you. Okay, so go to my website, faithbarista.com. Sign up for my book launch. Guys, we can do this together and I will just share everything that I can and we're going to help each other and it's going to be fun. And no matter what happens, right? Whether you go to any city with your message and bad things happen, quote unquote, critics, you know what? They're there. And I'll be able to share you even more stuff in our private Facebook group. You can't imagine what people have said to me. But you know what? It's okay. We're there for each other. Okay, share this Facebook live stream with your friends. Okay, we're going to put it as a recorded. You can be able to share with your friends. Tell everybody you know about this book. And sign up for the book launch. Have them sign up. The 100 people get free copies, but everybody is going to get free chapters so that we can get and do this together. My friend Lambert Dolphin just joined. Okay, Lambert is so special to me. Hi, Lambert. He said, doing small things is what's most significant. Doing small things with God is so significant. He wrote this. He probably forgot because Lambert writes so much, but it's also in the book. I quote Lambert in the book as well. So I'm so happy you're here, Lambert. Doing small things is of great significance to God because God is with you in those small things. Blessed are those who are meek in spirit, for they shall inherit the kingdom of God. You have that, okay? All right, so I guess that's it. All right, we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye. Love you guys. Thanks for being here.